बोले Hello, good morning everyone. Respected sir, research scholar and dear learners. Today is the second day of our academic writing workshop and second session of the Kalyan Chattopadhyay sir. So I welcome all of you. Welcome sir. And yesterday we learned many things. We start from four features like formality, objectivity, clarity, precision, and sir give example also of one article. So we learned from that how to write introduction, how to write abstract, and all those things. So without wasting too much time, I would like to invite sir. So welcome sir. Now stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I like these student speakers, student writers. They are great because she has summarized more or less in her own way what we spoke about. So today we are going to start from where we ended last evening. So I gave you a task, very simple task. Those who are from MA, so this side is for PhD. All PhD. इधर PhD कुछ नहीं है ना? हैं? तो उधर जाना पड़ेगा. इधर आ जाओ. PhD is this side. This is reserved for PhDs. MA is right. That gives me a little bit of space to maneuver. Right. Um, Now I'm sure that you have gone through your proposal or your write-up at home, and you have looked at these 5 principles, right? Some of you, maybe those who are in MA, or maybe you are contemplating of doing a PhD, you may be having some ideas in your mind, and this is the high time that you refresh your ideas and reframe your thoughts and come forward with a very good proposal. For example, if you apply to Western universities, I do not know how many of you aspire to go to the USA or Canada or in the Norwegian countries where there is still some funding available for research assistant and teaching assistant to do PhD. Yes. आपने वो पढ़ा नहीं उसमें बाहर क्या लिखा है साइलेंस तो घुसना है तो घुस जाओ so if you are thinking of doing that, when you submit your application, you have to submit a research proposal. And that research proposal is not your Bhavnagar University research proposal because you are competing with people globally. So it has to be qualitatively a bit strong, I would say. Strong means in academics something different. Strong means you are making claims without much evidence, but I am meaning that you make a very sound, solid proposal. Okay, so you can think about your ideas and refresh yourself. So, claim or evidence. So, these are the MA people and these are the PhDs. So, let me pick up one or two. अभी पोस्ट ह्यूमन हो गया बराड़ साहब ने तो कल रात को मेरे को 5 किताब दिखा दिया ये पोस्ट ह्यूमन आप पढ़े नहीं आपको पढ़ना है हाँ थोड़ा वो उनके पास भी किताब वगैरह है वो अब मैं चला जाऊंगा उसके बाद सर के पास जाके उसका नोट ले लेना
मैंने भी कुछ
खरीदिए अच्छा बहुत पैसा है आपके पास अच्छा सो अच्छी तरह से पढ़ना और एक चीज जो है वो उन्होंने मेरे को दिखाया वो है जो कंट्रोवर्शियल कहाँ गया कंट्रोवर्शियल मैडम उधर कंट्रोवर्शियल मैडम है तो बैंड लिटरेचर banned literature there is a substantial research work if you go to archive.org last night we checked out, and there are some works, meaning say 50 years older, 60 years older, meaning good work. So you should check out. And I also learned that in this university there is an opportunity for you at later stage to, you know, change your title if you feel so. So after some research, if you find that you need to make your title a bit important or sound good, you can do that. And another thing is, sir is giving you a good sort of titles, but read, otherwise you will find it very difficult to defend. बोले अरे हमको तो पता नहीं, बराड़ साहब ने तो रिफ्रेम कर दिया। हाँ, ऐसा ऐसा मत बोलना, हाँ, उनका इज्जत का सवाल है। ठीक है, तो don't do this. So let us now look at some of these things. I will pick up randomly. Okay, so you are looking cool. So what is your thesis or what is your topic? Sir, I'm BA student. BA student इधर आके बैठ गए घर। अरे BA student क्या करोगे इधर बैठ? हमारा पहला वर्कशॉप था, तो हमारे प्रोफेसर ने बोला आपको अटेंड करना चाहिए, तो आपको फ्यूचर में अच्छा कुछ ऐसा काम में लगेगा। अरे BA स्टूडेंट तो MA नहीं है, इसलिए मेरे को लगा जो ये ब्लैंक है, थोड़ा इसको पूछते हैं। हाँ, अच्छा, हाँ, BA का है, अच्छा, BA, अच्छा, आप MA का है क्या? अच्छा, आप बताइए आपका क्या है टॉपिक? In SEM 4 we have dissertation writing, so I choose the topic language as a tool in dystopian literature. Focus and study on George Orwell's 1984 and contemporary media. Okay. Now, what evidence do you see there? So, in my dissertation writing, my main focus on that how language controls the society. And no, have you read something or any article, any book where language as a tool of control has been spoken about or something? Yes, there is one book, Language as a Power. I forgot the author's name, but in this book, he also mentioned that how language controls people, also in 1980. So you are dealing with, I'm sorry to stop you, you are dealing with two things. One is language and the power of language to control, right? So the another notion is power, one notion is the use of language, okay, and how the two, merge, right, in, in a particular work. So in your case is George Orwell. So my idea is, you go through George Orwell's works and try to find examples from the text where language is used to express this use of power. In 1984, there is also like a big. No, you don't have to tell me what is in 1984 or what is in Animal Farm. I am not. Actually, I don't have time to talk about all these things. So, what I am telling you that you will not get data. Here, you will not get data. You will not get facts. You will get only examples. So you have to go through the text and highlight those textual portions, right, where you see the use of language as an instrument of power. And you have to do some background reading. For example, Max Weber, notion of power, then Foucault's notion of power. You have to do this background work, meaning you have to have a kind of a theoretical framework. So your theoretical framework may not come from your book of literature, it will come from a philosophical work, sociological work. So you go through those works, right? You understand that how language operates. Now how language operates, there are books on that aspect also, you read. So you prepare your theoretical framework first. With that theoretical framework in mind, you go through the works of George Orwell and underline those textual portions where you have a connect, links. Okay, once you have that, you go to the number 3, that means reasoning, that whether those examples support your hypothesis. You must have a hypothesis, so whether that supports your claim or not, those textual example, textual excerpts, okay, which will form core of your work. Then if you think that otherwise, you counter it with evidence. Once again, your evidence may come from literature. You can refer back to articles which were written by others on George Orwell on the same thematic areas, or you can take inspiration from the articles which were not written on George Orwell, but say, for example, on E.M. Foster or James Joyce, but on the same, you know, issue, right? Use of language. So you go there and then you put your arguments together and try to develop a kind of a conclusion. So that should ideally be your thesis. Okay, so that is the meaning, the frame in your mind. Okay, you think about. Another MA student who want to volunteer, MA from here or there. I picked her up randomly because she was smiling and looking at me too much. So I thought, okay, let's have an interaction. Anybody else? अरे बापूजी तो हमारे उधर देख नहीं रहे, आप व्हाइट कुर्ता में, आप एमए स्टूडेंट हो, तो आपका क्या टॉपिक है? टॉपिक है नहीं? हाँ, सेमिस्टर 2 आपका टॉपिक है नहीं. सो किसी का पास टॉपिक हो एमए का स्टूडेंट्स, थोड़ा हाथ ऊपर. आगे, अच्छा, हाँ, ये दोनों, और नहीं, ये दोनों नहीं चाहिए, और इधर पीछे आप दोनों हैं, तो आप, व्हाट इज योर टॉपिक?
Basically algorithmic power and human autonomy. Zuboffin reading of 1980. Zuboffin reading, sir.
हाँ,
Zuboffin. Shoshana Zuboff, she's professor from Harvard University, and
okay,
yes,
right, reading of
Zuboffian reading of 1984 and Brave New World by Huxley.
अरे बाप रे बाप, अरे कितना तेज दिमाग है. इसका सजेशन कहाँ से मिला आपको?
Sir, I was interested in such a textbook. Then I took help from the internet and the AI platforms. Then I discussed with our madams. Then I have decided this.
You discussed with your madams?
First of all, I
1, 2, 3, 4.
no. But,
I still don't understand what you are going to do. Just tell us. Tell us, not me.
Sure, sir. So, sir, basically in 1984, in Orwell, generally control was through fear and all the things. And in this Huxley's novel, control was through pleasure and all the things. We are giving our freedom. So we are surrendering our through pleasure ourselves. So what in digital time, like in this, we are using our all the platforms, social medias. So basically this all things collects our data and predict our even future, our behavior and all the things. That is why like this algorithmic power we see. For example, whatever ads comes on our mobile and all the things, because we are looking for such a things and they predict our data, and so
let us now come back to the point.
Okay.
So what is your claim? What are you?
So my main claim is that we are losing our freedom, like we are surrendering this all the thing by ourselves, like this all big companies and all this algorithmic power.
Got you.
Yes.
Now, how will you collect your evidence?
So, sir, till now, in dystopian literature, we have research work on this how we were controlled by this.
That will not be your evidence.
Yes.
So, whatever you are reading in your, in any other article or any other
Yes.
book, that will not be your evidence as such. Your evidence will have to be collected by, by looking at the usage of other people,
Yes.
and then you have to triangulate it with what you are getting in those works
Yes.
of literature.
Yes, sir. So, sir, in this Shoshana Zuboff wrote this surveillance capitalism. In that also, she talk about all these things. So, I am by supplementing this, I am further doing.
Michel Foucault also talked about surveillance, because surveillance is something that some people you know track your activities. Okay. Earlier the kings and the rulers, they used to do that, right? So that they know in advance what other people are thinking or doing, or their subjects are, whether they are thinking happy or unhappy, or thinking of staging a revolt or so and so. So there were spies. So these bots are like spies, they are around, right? So you are leaving traces of your behavior online, consciously or unconsciously. When you are sharing an Instagram data, you delete it. After some time, you delete everything. But you think that, okay, you have removed everything, erased everything. Nothing is erased. It is still accessible, right? That data is there somewhere in some servers. So that is the dangerous part of thing. And then there is another fear that we talk about, that somebody is watching us. Earlier, the idea was there is a God or Allah, right? Or Bhagavan, in whichever name you call, who is watching us from above. Hi Bhagavan, kya hoga? Hi Allah, kya hoga? Again, so watching us. So because some kind of a providential figure is watching us, we had the fear. Now internet is watching us. Everything. So you all have a mobile. I have a mobile also. You check your mobile settings, you will find that your location settings is on. So I can track your mobile. Right. If I'm a techie wizard, but I don't show it because these things are now taken over by the younger generation. I have let my students to do all these things, but I can right now show you, if I don't have to teach this, that I can show you very clearly that how I can hack on your mobile and tell you that what conversations you have in the last 2 weeks. ठीक है ना? ऐसा कोई बड़ा बात नहीं है. तो अगर आपका अभी तो उम्र बढ़ रहा है, रिकॉर्डिंग चल रहा है, इसलिए ज्यादा कुछ बताता नहीं है, लेकिन आप उसको ट्रैक कर सकते हो एक्टिविटी किसी का भी. आपकी किसी के साथ प्यार हो गया तो आपको उस एक्टिविटी ट्रैक करना है उन मोबाइल फोन में. अगर वो जादू मैं इधर सिखा दूं तो आप भी कर सकते हो. तो ऐसा कोई बड़ा बात नहीं है. वो इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसी करते हैं. दे एक्चुअली हैक into your system and they look at it. You have internet at your home, you Wi-Fi at your home, you may have um, camera at your home, you know CCTVs, and that can be hacked. For example, I can hack from my home sitting in Calcutta and to see that what Professor Dilip Barad is doing in his home or in his chamber. So that is not a very big thing today. So someone is watching. So that is a fear. Someone is watching us. That is the fear. When we go to the institution, there are cameras everywhere. So even if I do all these things, somebody is watching. Okay, so everything you do is being watched. I think we have never lived in a century where our every movement, every activity is tracked like this. Today, now the government of the US is saying that they will track the social media data before giving visas to certain categories. But I am telling you from my experience that in so many countries, your data is tracked when you are actually submitting your application. Now the US government is telling you openly, but the other countries do, including our own. Okay, so that is the problem. That is the problem. Earlier, Twitter, WhatsApp, you think WhatsApp data is protected? End-to-end subscription? No. You do a crime, they will take the printout of everything. And there is an interesting part of linguistics. I am hearing some of you are doing great work and some of the interesting stuff I'm hearing, and I get inspiration and exhilaration from that the students are thinking a bit differently. But there is another aspects of linguistics which is not taught so much in India, but it's now starting. That is forensic linguistics, right? Now, थोड़ा कैमरा को बंद कर सकते हो क्या 2-3 मिनट के लिए? देखो मिला कैसे? ये भी एक रिसर्च है। हाँ, आप लोगों के साथ मैं कर सकता हूँ आपके दिमाग से निकालने के लिए क्या है उसमें। हाँ, ठीक है, तो आपको वो एविडेंस उसको निकालना पड़ेगा वहां से, एंड देन यू हैव टू कम अप विथ arguments. Similarly, what I told her, right? I told these people. So the same thing you have to do. Okay. So you read the theoretical background a bit. Now PhD एक candidate को लेना है. Any volunteer? Any volunteer? I am looking at you. That doesn't mean I will ask you. You are not PhD student. तो उधर बैठ गए. मेरा तो ये हुलिया है नहीं, इधर है ना. हाँ, आ जाओ. मेरा अभी ये है, इधर बैठने से मैं उसको समझ लेता हूँ ये पीएचडी का स्टूडेंट है. आई एम सॉरी टू अपसेट यू. हाँ, हाँ, तो पीएचडी का स्टूडेंट्स बराबर कोई वॉलंटियर? किसी को अभी बोलना है? आ जाओ, ऐसा नहीं, मैंने तो बोला. हाँ, अभी थोड़ा कल हम आपसे बहुत ज्यादा बात किए, अब करेंगे कि कोई और नया आ जाए तो अच्छा होगा. एनीवन एल्स? अरे आपके काम में ही लगेगा. इट विल हेल्प यू. अच्छा, टेल मी. सो व्हाट इज योर क्लेम? मीनिंग you can talk about your thesis title or your claim or your hypothesis.
Sir, my thesis title is Simulacra and Cinema, Baudrillard and Inquiry into Films. Okay,
So there is a term called senatorial courtesy. What is senatorial courtesy? You chew your words in public speaking. If you say, I am going to that place and there I am going to, then what happens? The other person is not able to follow you. Okay, so there is a senatorial courtesy. You go slow. Huh? So थोड़ा थोड़ा रुक के अभी इसको चिबाना है, च्यू।
Thesis title is Simulacra and Cinema, a Baudrillardian inquiry into films.
Baudrillardian inquiry?
Yes, sir. Jean Baudrillard's hyperreality concept.
वो दिमाग में इतना जोर से धक्का लगा ना दिमाग में। हाँ,
The claim is that Baudrillard's theory of hyperreality and
ये
simulacrum.
जो बोल रहा है बॉडलियर, इसका स्पेलिंग आपको मालूम है? डू यू नो द स्पेलिंग? हाँ, बताओ। यस, हुआ, डन। किसको मालूम है इधर? मालूम है इधर? बताओ अगर मालूम है। हाँ ठीक है, बराबर, चलो। नहीं, थोड़ा थोड़ा वाई को डाल दिया इस। हाँ, तो आप नजदीक थे, थोड़ा इधर हो गया। हाँ, और उसका प्रोनाउंसिएशन मेरा छोटा मित्र जो बोल रहा है वो है नहीं। इसका प्रोनाउंसिएशन मालूम है किसी को?
Jean Baudrillard.
वो आएगा नहीं आपसे गुजराती में। फ्रेंच थोड़ा, हाँ थोड़ा फ्रेंच। Okay, you are there. Okay, anyway, go.
Okay, sir. So the claim of the thesis is to prove his theory in recent cinema.
उनका theory prove कर रहा है?
In detail, because the evidence that the articles that I
What is his theory?
is theory of hyperreality, sir. In a simulacrum.
So you have to focus on his theory of hyperreality.
Yes, sir. In that theory of hyperreality is the final stage, and before that, there are three steps to reach hyperreality that he discussed in his primary text, and that step that I want to investigate in the films.
No. So you have there the thesis.
Yes.
Okay, and then you have to find evidence. Where will you get your evidence?
Sir, evidence that so far I found in articles that there are not as much discussed in detail about films like Truman Show and.
See, the problem that you people have is in PhD, and the shortcut that people assume is they do not read the original work from the first page to the last page. That you have to read. You are talking about a French philosopher who has written in depth. It is very difficult unless you have a philosophical orientation. You know about philosophy. It is very difficult for you to go into the details of it. So you have to read a little bit about philosophy, then you have to go to the work of that person, and then you will have a kind of an understanding of what are the different stages which actually are taking you to hyper reality or simulacra. So if you go there, from there you will start finding evidence in the works that you are trying to analyze by using the theory. So what your work is all about, most of your work is all about, you are using a theory, okay, in order to interpret a text. That text can be a cinema, that text can be a large number of visuals, that text can be, a book. So you are going to use the theory. So first you digest the theory, right? So first you digest it, read the original texts, develop a sound understanding. Now, when you read those original texts, whatever you have in your mind, you underline, highlight those things, keep a track like the card, okay? And then you go to the works or the cinema, no, that you want to interpret. So there you will get the evidence in the cinemas, in the pictures, etc. Okay, so that's your data. And then reasoning. The reasoning is very simple. Why your evidence support your claim? So you jump to the next one if your evidence does not support. Now I have a very simple questions to all of you. If your evidence does not support your claim, will that finish your PhD there? Will you progress or will you leave it there? What will you do? If your evidence does not support your claim, then what happens?
Sir, it may nullify your hypothesis, but you are proving something, no? That whatever you.
Don't say proving.
Sorry. You are
claiming. Yeah, claiming whatever hypothesis you are claiming for something, no? And if the evidence, you don't find the evidence and it doesn't prove, doesn't assert that your claiming is positive, then if it is not right, then it is nullifying your hypothesis. But you have done that work, if I'm not wrong.
So, will you finish your PhD with the nullification?
is it
Possible. Yeah, I hope. Well, the research is there, no, sir?
So, what do you think, the MA people?
Sir, we can add that in limitations if it is possible.
Okay, any other idea? Yes.
In my dissertation topic, that I have moved that
Huh?
I have moved that
Zamin par, but in many articles there is no citation of the movie. But in the article they talk about that Tare Zameen Par. But in one or two article only I found that movie site of Tare Zameen Par.
So what will you do?
So I said, ma'am, and in many one of thesis also I found that there is no citation of the movie. So ma'am said me that you will include it in that limitations.
So, ma'am said, and now that has percolated to him also. Now, I am now giving you a very crude example. Right, don't take it otherwise, and I will pick her because if I give examples to you, you may interpret it in a wrong way. So if I say, just think about what is my claim today? My claim is today I have found in her the most intelligent woman in the class, the most intelligent student in the class. Okay, so I have found in her the most intelligent student in the class. Okay, so that is my claim. What is the evidence? I find the evidence when I actually, interacted with other students from other departments or maybe from other universities. I found that she's not so intelligent. There are others who are more intelligent. Okay, so I gather in actually evidence which actually nullifies my hypothesis. Okay, what will happen? Look at the counter argument and rebuttal, acknowledging and refuting opposing views. So I will say then that she is the most intelligent PhD student I found in Bhavnagar, but in Gujarat there are other intelligent students in there or there. Okay, and that will be my conclusion. So don't abandon your thesis if you find that your hypothesis is not matching with your conclusion. This is your hypothesis, so you can either prove it in her language right, or you can prove it wrong. So the purpose of research is to start with a hypothesis and to test the hypothesis based on the data, based on evidence, right? The evidence may be textual evidence, the evidence may be digital evidence. So we do this. Okay, any questions up to this? Last time है ना, तो प्रश्न, questions. There is an astrological book, Prashna Marga. Have you heard about it? And what happened to that person whom I asked to come with Arthashastra?
But then if the conclusion is mixed one, no, as you said, that my initial hypothesis was this, and it is partially correct, then will it be granted by?
Huh? Anything, see, you have a hypothesis. Okay, it is not truth.
Yeah, yeah.
And the purpose of research is not to seek the truth. It is to test the hypothesis. You may validate it or not. For example, I may have a very simple example. Students learn to pronounce words quickly when they are given oral clues. That is my hypothesis. At the end of the day, I may find that students learn to pronounce words when they are shown pictures. So if you find it, find it. In some context, one hypothesis is validated. In some context, it is not. So for example, what is validated in Thai context may not be validated in Indian context. For example, India, there is now a danger. The danger is actually that we are either trying to be jingoist. See, Rabindranath Tagore has written an article on nationalism. So if you have gone through that article, the nationalism never existed in India. It existed in Europe. And now look how Europe is actually fragmenting. But they are in a way happy. Small states. There can be 5 Germanys with one India. But we have so many differences, but still we unity in diversity, we celebrate that way. We celebrate multilingualism, multiculturalism. Okay, that is our positioning. When you market a product, you think about brand positioning. Who are going to buy your products? How you are going to entice them to buy your products? So that is also research, market research. So you can take great inspiration from market research. Not that you have to read only book about research from education. There are very few books on, maybe 4 or 5 I have seen so far, books on how to research in literature. But there are dozens and hundreds of books on research in education, research in applied linguistics. I at least have 10-15 research methodology books on applied linguistics in my home. Literature, only 2. Because there are no books. Maybe some of you may think of writing one after finishing your PhDs or studies. Okay, so don't be unnerved by the fact that at the end of the data collection, your hypothesis is something validated. Don't be unnerved, because you can come with counterclaims. That was my hypothesis. I collected data, evidence, and found that my hypothesis is not validated. Okay, so that can be your And then what is the significance of that depends on the context, depends on the, it could be of national relevance. So you never know. It depends on your thesis. Okay, very quickly then. Achieving coherence, these are all written in your, go through your worksheets. You will find lots of information. Now this is something easy for you to look at and see. This structure is not given in your worksheet. It is not provided in your worksheet. Okay. So what I am trying to do, say for example, thesis driven writing, how we actually progress. Some of these things we discussed. Topic sentences we discussed. Then logical paragraph structure. This is something important. PIE. What is P? Look at the slide. What is P? Point. What is point? Okay. Then what is I? Okay. So can you explain I? Yes, data, evidence, information. What about E? Explain, interpret. Okay. So you have the evidence and then you interpret. आपका रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी क्लास अच्छा से हो गया ना, जो पीएचडी, जो those who are doing PhD. Okay. Inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning. What is the difference between the two, inductive and deductive? Can anybody tell me? Yes.
Inductive means specific to general,
Hmm.
deductive means general to specific.
Yes. So you looked at the slide and immediately remembered it. Okay, thank you. So is a movement. Inductive, induction, I. That is a clue. So in case of inductive, you move from specific to general. And in case of deductive, it reduce. Deductive logic. Okay. So in case of deductive, you move from general to specific. Okay. Now, this is important. Do you understand this? Yes. थोड़ा मेरे को एक्सप्लेन करो बेटा. ये लॉजिक का है चक्कर है, फिलोसॉफिकल ओरिएंटेशन चाहिए. हाँ, फिलोसॉफी पढ़े. हाँ, तो एक्सप्लेन करो. चलो.
इसमें लिखा है कि और
नहीं लिखा कुछ नहीं, अभी एक्सप्लेन करो. मेरे को एक एग्जांपल देके एक्सप्लेन करो. टीचर बन जाओ मेरा.
ओके सर.
हाँ.
जैसे कि ऐसे अगर सिंपल लैंग्वेज में बोलूं कि लिखा है कि सभी गाय जो है वो कुत्ते हैं.
सभी गाय जो है कुत्ते हैं.
समझ लीजिए, आपने बोला सिंपल समझो वैसे. अभी सभी गाय जो है वो कुत्ते हैं. और दूसरी बात ऐसे बोले कि यहाँ पर लिखा है कि सभी गाय जो है कुत्ते, ऐसे मैंने आपको बोला, ठीक है. और दूसरी अगर मैं बोलूँ कि अगर ऐसे ही मैं समझाऊँ कि यहाँ पर जो लिखा है वही मैं अगर समझाने की कोशिश करूँ कि ऑल ए आर बी, यानी कि जितने भी. हाँ, मैं तो आपको सर ऐसे ही समझाऊंगा ना कि एग्जाम्पल के साथ.
Example, sir. All men are mortals. Men
Are mortals. Not all women are mortals.
All humans are mortal.
All humans, not post-human. कहा गया वो.
Premise B is suppose I am a human. So conclusion is I am mortal.
And any other explanation? Anybody else? हाँ, बताइए आप.
All men are mortal. I would extend his Example, Mohan is a man.
हाँ
Mohan is water.
हाँ गुड ओके अभी पता चला दोनों को सो कैन आई हैव अ रिहर्स ऑफ दिस अभी सब बोलो एक साथ ऑल वीमेन आर immortal all women are what is your name Nikita so Nikita is immortal no wrong Nikita is a woman right so the conclusion is Nikita is immortal clear okay so that is something that you have to remember when you try to look at your hypothesis and triangulate it with your data क्या सीखा आपने ये कभी अभी सीखा नहीं सीखा है हाँ नया कुछ मिला आप तो वो सोच में थे ना जो पावर पॉइंट दे देने से आपको सब कुछ पता चल जाएगा बोले पावर पॉइंट दे दो तो हमको क्लास में जाने की जरूरत है नहीं कोई कोई बंदा सोचे अब ये वर्कशीट दे दो अरे आपको टीचर को लेके वर्कशीट दो पढ़ा नहीं पाएगा ये दिमाग में चलता है ओके ये इंटरेस्टिंग सो रिमेंबर दिस ओके सो दिस इज लॉजिकल रीजनिंग बहुत सारे चीज है हाँ रिसर्च में ना बहुत सारे चीज है जो दिमाग में रखना पड़ता है फॉर एग्जाम्पल if you have insufficient evidence and then you conclude और मिला नहीं है कुछ लिख देते हैं चलो हो जाएगा ऐसा ऐसा है फिर है you assume B followed A caused B इसका क्या मतलब है क्या मतलब है इसका सपोज ए है ए है बी ठीक है व्हाट आई हैव रिटन बी फॉलोड ए सो ही फॉलोड हिम व्हाट डिड ही फॉलो ही फॉलोड हिज डिजिटल प्रैक्टिस he B followed his digital practice he is A and now what happens A caused B that means then he caused pain to him how he didn't show he wanted to follow him but he didn't allow it so he caused pain to him ये आपको लिटरेचर में थियोरी के साथ जो लिटरेचर का कनेक्शंस होता है ना व्हेन यू आर ट्राइंग टू कनेक्ट लिटरेचर विथ थियोरी ऐसा ऐसा होता है ये कनेक्शंस आपको याद रखना चाहिए परसुएसिवनेस बिकॉज इन योर आर्ग्यूमेंटेशन यू नीड परसुएसिवनेस आपको परसुएट करना है ना So the whole purpose of writing a good PhD thesis or a good article is it has to be persuasive. जो पढ़े उनको लगे अरे ये तो सही कहा है ना? That's a great work. So इसमें तीन चीज है. What are they? इसके सब ऑस है. Ethos, पैथोस लोगोस अभी ये क्या है देखते हैं इथॉस बेसिकली आपका क्रेडिबिलिटी क्या है सो यू हैव कलेक्टेड एविडेंस यू हैव रिटन ए पेपर whether that paper is credible or not whether that paper is actually looking at both the arguments and counter arguments whether the paper is citing from recent journals or not, whether the paper is actually citing or referring to key texts or not. That's the reliable evidence. And maintaining formality and objectivity, वो तो हम डील कर चुके हैं, ठीक है. Then pathos, ये तो आप लोगों के पास ज्यादा है मेरे से. अब पास में जाके बैठना, अभी ऐसा होता है, मेरे स्टूडेंट के साथ भी होता है, मैं उसके साथ जोक करते रहता हूं. I used to tell my students that after 10 years, when you will see each other in the platform or in the airport, you may not look at each other or will ask how are you, because social progression is something which is important, है ना. तो ऐसा होता है ना. आपका after your MA, if you work in a shop, and after his MA he is an assistant professor in Bhavnagar University, और एक है ना क्या है स्कोदा की गाड़ी में घूम रहे हैं, तो आपको देख के एक बार नहीं पूछा अरे हाउ आर यू, ऐसा नहीं पूछेगा. तो ये इमोशनल अपील वाले चीज बहुत ज्यादा है ना. और सबसे ज्यादा होता है जब आपका जो कैमरा किसका प्रॉब्लम है, तो थोड़ा एग्जांपल्स जो दिमाग में आता है मैं बोल नहीं पाता. अभी उसमें ज्यादा होता है क्या, अभी जिल्टेड लाभ का जो है वो जो स्टोरी है. अभी स्टूडेंट्स लाइफ में किसी को अच्छा लगा था, फिर उसका शादी हो गया, 10 साल बाद मिले तो उसमें मॉल में ऐसे देखे, लेकिन उससे बात नहीं की. अरे क्या है इसमें, जिंदगी में बात करने से क्या होगा, वो आपके घर में आ जाएगा, नहीं भाग जाएगा, क्या होगा, कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. तो अभी बात करो ना, टेक इट नॉर्मली. एनीवे, सो desire for effective education, economic opportunity and clear communication. इसके बाद logos, all these are actually Greek words. Ethos, pathos, logos, logocentrism, आपको मालूम है ना. हाँ, so logos, logical appeal, आपका 85% agreed. I told you yesterday. Majority, minority, majority agreed, 85%. Okay, all agreed, ऐसा नहीं है. So that is a very persuasive argument, because 85% is saying that madam is the most intelligent PhD student in the class. Majority. We are in a democracy, so majority. ऐसा मेजॉरिटी जिसको 35%, 37% वोट मिलता है वही देश का रूलर बनता है. और 43%, 40%, 50%, हमारा स्टेट भी वेस्ट बंगाल में भी है, वो 50% किसी को नहीं मिलता है, कभी कभी मिला होगा, लेकिन वो रूलर है, उसको सुनना पड़ता है. और 53%, 54% आदमी जो उसको पसंद नहीं करते, उनका वो जो एक साथ एकजुट नहीं हो पाया, तो इसलिए वो उसका कोई नहीं सुनता. अगर एकजुट हो जाता उनके ही सुनते, 47% को किसी को नहीं सुनते. तो ये मेजॉरिटी माइनॉरिटी का प्रॉब्लम डेमोक्रेसी में है. तो हमारे रिसर्च में इसका कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. सो मोर देन 65% यू से मेजॉरिटी आर, यू नो, 100% ऑल. सो ऑल नहीं मिलेगा.
Research, qualitative research, how can we put the percentages?
नो, इन लिटरेचर उसको परसेंटेज नहीं आएगा. हाँ, लेकिन अब आ सकता है. अगर आप एक काम करो, say you are doing a literature review, and in your literature review, if you see, if you are reviewed, say for example 40 articles, and you create a table of 40 articles, and there you find that almost all of them are actually agreeing with you. So you can say the majority of the scholars.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sir, so can we prepare a questionnaire? Suppose I'm doing PhD on an author's work. So how younger readers who read him agree with that?
So what is your topic?
My topic is psychological exploration of Haruki Murakami's selective novels. and in which I'm trying to.
What are your research questions?
My research question is that how far the theory of psychoanalysis can be applicable to his works, and how younger youth resonate with it.
So the younger youth वाले जो questions है, in order to understand that, you can prepare a questionnaire and ask those people who have read his works. For example, if that work is taught in your undergraduate or postgraduate in different colleges in Gujarat, you can go to them and give them the questionnaire and
But sir, he is not prescribed in syllabus. But youth usually pop culture is very popular in that.
So they read it.
Yes, maybe.
Okay, so you have to find out that how many people. So before giving the questionnaire, you have to say, have you read it? So then fill up this questionnaire for me, please. It will not take more than 10 minutes. So you fill up that thing, then you scan through the questionnaires, and you may find 4 or 5 of them to be interviewed. So you have the quantitative data, qualitative data. You can triangulate. Okay. You can do case studies also. Instead of going through quantitative, you can select 5 or 6 people who have read his works, and you can do case studies on them. But there are case studies, ethnography is not included of this session because I'm also referring to undergraduates and postgraduate students. Okay. अगर आपको उसके बारे में जानकारी ज्यादा चाहिए तो दिलीप बराड़ साहब को बोलना, वो मेरे को एक रिक्वेस्ट भेजेगा, मैं आपको टाइम दूंगा, आप आ जाइए गूगल मीट पे, तब मैं बता दूंगा आपको. हाँ, ठीक. So practical process of argument construction, how you actually do this. Now remember this carefully. How you do. यही प्रॉब्लम आप लोगों के थीसिस में है. आज सुबह भी आपके एचओडी के साथ मेरा लंबा बात हुआ इसके बारे में. यही प्रॉब्लम आप लोगों का थीसिस के टाइटल देख के होता है. अभी देखो वेस्ट में आपको ज्यादातर जो थीसिस आपको देखने को मिलेगा, ए एम्बिगुइटी नहीं रहता है. आई एम नॉट क्रिटिसाइजिंग एनीबॉडी, बट दिस इज अ जनरल इंडियन ट्रेंड, वी हैव टू ओवरकम इट. Okay, suppose after your PhD you want to apply a job for a lecturer position in Europe. There, by looking at the title, they don't understand what is your thesis all about, or what actually you wanted to, look at. So that is the question you should ask yourself. Can you state it in one more? That is very important. Then the next, think about evidence and against position. How will you gather evidence? Start thinking about it. This is the pre-writing stuff. And then you follow this: claim, evidence, warrant, potential counter, rebuttal, which I talked about. Okay. Then start writing. Use PIE structure. PIE structure क्या है? P का मतलब point. I का मतलब और E का मतलब okay. Write your introduction last. Introduction सबके लास्ट में लिखना है. हाँ. So do you see any logic why you should write introduction at last?
Because if chronological order માં તમે લખતા હો એટલે
अरे बोलो ना, मेरे को समझ आती है गुजराती. I cannot speak Gujarati, but there Gujarati is quite similar to Sanskrit and Bengali, so I do understand what you are trying to say. It's not always I get 100% of it, but maybe 70%.
રિસર્ચ કરતા જઈએ જેવી રીતે એમ આપણને જે પોઈન્ટ હોય ને મેઇન પોઈન્ટ એ આપણને મળતો, એટલે જો ઇફ વી રાઇટ ફર્સ્ટ ઇન્ટ્રોડક્શન દેન એ બંધાયેલું થઈ જાય. પણ જેમ તમે ચેપ્ટર 2, 4 એવી રીતે લખો તો ત્યાંથી તમારો પર્સપેક્ટ છે એ બદલાતો જાય, એટલે પછી ઓવરઓલ કરીને પછી તમે ઇન્ટ્રોડક્શન લખો તો તમારો રિસર્ચ
Very good. So, have you understood? Um, so, writing introduction at first is problematic. Do you all agree, PhD? Agree? नहीं controversy है. I'll remember you as controversy, madam. अगर 10 साल बाद मैं जिंदा रहा और आप कहाँ पे पढ़ाते होंगे तो देखने से ही पता चल जाएगा ये तो कंट्रोवर्सी मैडम है. बैंड नहीं बोलूंगा, बैंड थोड़ा बैंड में हटा दिया, लेकिन बैंड है, उस लिटरेचर में बैंड है ना. सो थिंक अबाउट दिस राइटिंग एंड देन रिवीजन. रिवीजन का क्या मतलब है? आफ्टर यू finish your writing and you come up with an introduction, because if you write your discussion interpretation and then you go back to your introduction, you can put all these ideas true. Okay, otherwise what will happen, your introduction will go in one direction, your discussion or data interpretation will go in another direction. Okay, so somehow the argument should follow logically. Now reverse outline draft हो गया. So after you have written a chapter, you have come up with a draft, you make the main points, jottings of the main points. Second chapter, make the jottings of the main points. So usually it is 6-7 chapters in a PhD. Okay, so 6-7 chapters in a PhD. So after that, you have to see, you have to check very carefully that whether they logically relate to your claim, whether you agree or disagree, है ना. जो स्ट्रक्चरल फ्लो है उसमें, ऐसा जा रहा है सीधा, नहीं तो इधर इधर नहीं, ऐसा नहीं. So what? Why does it matter? If you can't answer this, then it is irrelevant. Purpose of a conference abstract: to be accepted to give a presentation. How many of you have already given conference presentation? How many of you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9. अरे बाप रे बाप, 9, 10 हो गया. Conference presentation. So you have written an abstract. What is the structure? Create a research space, CARS model. Try to remember this way: the why, the what, how, and so what. That means you start with the context and the problem, you follow, go to the purpose of the presentation, specific research objectives, and then you describe your approach, meaning how you are designing it or how you are collecting, how you are analyzing, talking about your framework. You may say, I am using this particular framework to look at this particular evidence and to test this. And then finally conclusion. So what? Present your key results or arguments. Hey, sorry. So this is it. Introduction, problem statement, research questions, objectives, literature review. It can be part of a paper or it can be part of your thesis writing or something. Title. Look at the title. It is not like the post-human. What is the title? Exploring translanguaging. You know what is translanguaging? Who knows? Translanguaging? You are a perfect example of this. You mixed Gujarati, Hindi, and English. Translanguaging. Very bad word. Trans. The prefix. Transgender. Trans language. Language क्या trans है क्या? नहीं. So look at this. Translanguaging as a pedagogical scaffolding. Who introduced the concept of scaffolding? दिमाग में जोर डालिए. स्कैफोल्डिंग किसका कॉन्सेप्ट है?
सिविल इंजीनियरिंग का.
नहीं. Say you are weak in mathematics and I am supporting you to develop your skills in mathematics. That is called scaffolding. But who introduced the notion of scaffolding? Vygotsky.
Vygotsky.
Vygotsky?
Yes, he was a Russian psychologist.
In multilingual Saudi University EFL writing classes. So now look at this title. You will understand why your titles are problematic and why I am critical of them. Look at this. So what is your issue, problem you are dealing with? You are exploring translanguaging as a pedagogical tool. So your thesis is all about translanguaging as a pedagogical tool. But with whom? With multilingual learners in EFL writing class at a Saudi university. Okay, and then you can add a subtitle, a participatory action study research, or a participatory action research study, or you can say an exploratory study. Okay, subtitle is not mandatory, but think about the title. It is clear. So even if I am not looking at your thesis, I know that you are working on translanguaging practices as a pedagogical scaffolding tool with a group of learners in a Saudi university. That I know clearly. Your title has to be clear. है ना? एक मिनट के लिए बंद करो. Okay, and if any one of you need any advice or help or at any point of stay, आपका HOD is मेरा शिष्य भी है और मेरा फ्रेंड भी है, तो उनसे जरिए बोलना जिस सर से हमारे एक आप 5-7 आदमी का प्रॉब्लम है तो एक साथ बैठ जाओ, अभी कभी ऑनलाइन ले लेंगे. ठीक है, तो क्लियर हो जाएगा आपको. ये चीज आप दिमाग में रखना. हाँ, तो इंट्रोडक्शन ये सब आप तुम कवर कर चुके हैं. लिटरेचर रिव्यू का सेक्शन आप देखो. इसमें देयर आर 2 or 3 की इश्यूज. पीपल ऑफन मेक दिस मिस्टेक्स. So in literature review, what you do, you basically read an article and present a summary. We are not looking for a summary of a literature review. We don't want to know what that particular article is all about in your literature review. You pick up only the arguments which support your hypothesis. Clear? So hypothesis meaning literature review का काम है to address your research gap. How will you get the research gap? By doing the literature review. So you do the literature review and then you will find out that nobody has worked on this. So if you say that many scholars have spoken about Derrida as a great philosopher, you put citation A, B, C, D, 21, 23, 24 हो गया citation. Then you say, but nobody has talked about Derrida as a poet. So that's the research gap. And you are going to do your work on Derrida as a poet. I'm just giving you an example how to find the research gap. Methodology, you have to choose now what sort of methodology. For literature people, the choosing your methodology is a problematic area. You can use a kind of a framework. For example, अगर कंट्रोवर्शियल मैडम को और बैंड मैडम को कोई मेथोडोलॉजी चूज करना है तो क्या चूज करोगे बताओ? कल्चरल स्टडीज. तो ये तो आपका मेथड. हाँ. Then what you have to do? You have to read all the seminal texts of cultural studies. There are at least 50 of the books. So you read at least 10, 15 key books and at least 20, 25, good journal articles. ठीक है. उसको summary मत बनाना. Don't present your summaries. Just make points, connections in your literature review to show the gap where you want to focus, and that goes to your hypothesis. Significance. This is the final checklist. Go through it for a minute. I'm not going to speak. You need a 5-minute break to go to washroom or any other place, or to stretch yourself a bit. नहीं तो हम योगा करेंगे इधर. हाँ? Are you a yoga instructor? तो इधर योगा कर लेते हैं 5 मिनट के लिए. नहीं, अभी तो बहुत जैमिंग हो गया ना. भैया इतना दूर तक तो मेरा हाथ नहीं जाएगा. ओ हो गया. हाँ, 3. So we will start in 5 minutes. If you want to, chat, discuss, refresh yourself, exercise a bit, you stretch yourself a bit, then you do this. For 5 minutes. I'll come back. They may find this session a bit above your head, because I have to do some justice with the PhD ones. But it is good that you have the knowledge, which you can definitely use if you like. Okay. So if you do not understand what I'm talking about, please come back to me. So I'll be a little bit quicker this time. So this is the first paper I'm going to refer to: Authority and Invisibility, Authorial Identity in Academic Writing. But as I am going to speak on 3 issues, I will be referring to 3 articles. The purpose of referring to 3 articles is to explain those concepts to you, and these are very critical concepts. Okay. I have a controller in action. If I use my hands, then my hands are tied. If I move something, somebody may stop it. That is the fear of watching you someone from behind. Always. So, this is the paper. What is Ken Highland going to talk about in this paper? So you open the paper you have in your WhatsApp. नहीं, इधर मत आप ओपन करो. So you have the paper. Okay. So in the paper, you will see, you read page 1. You go through page 1, and in page 1, there are some questions that we need to answer. That is the first thing. We are looking at the abstract. So you look at page 1. Okay. You look at page 1. Ready? So the questions that are given in the worksheet: how does Highland establish the purpose of his study? What methods does he mention? How does he present his findings? Does he use first person pronouns? If so, to what effect? This is worksheet number 3 and 4. 3 and 4. Page 1. Okay. Look at them. So what is the purpose of study? What is your conclusion after reading the abstract? This is more for the PhD students. MA students are free to participate. So what is the purpose of the study?
To examine that how the students use and perceive self-preference, and to explore possible explanation for their different communicative practices.
Okay. What methods does he mention? Look at the abstract only. Page 1. Methods? No, that is the question number 4.
Comparison of purpose and interview with students and their supervisors.
Okay. Someone says case studies. What else do you find? You do not have it in your. Okay, so dekho, check it out. Otherwise, you will not be able to follow me.
Interview.
So, what are the methods? 1, 2, 3.
Study of graduate thesis, then study of research articles.
Study of.
Graduate thesis, then study of research articles.
And interviews, and yes, and interviews with students and their supervisors. These are the
Anything
methods.
else?
I'm not able to find.
Anything else anyone wants to add? Okay. So these are the methods. How does he present his findings? Just focus on the abstract.
67 from undergraduates. What is the purpose of presenting his finding? Finding में 64 from
How does he present his findings?
in the second language English.
No. See, academic writing is not just about conveying an ideational content. It is also about representation of self. Recent research has suggested academic prose is not completely impersonal, but the writers gain credibility by projecting an identity invested on the individual authority, displaying confidence in their evaluation and commitment to their ideas. Perhaps the most visible manifestation of such authorial identity is the use of first person pronouns and their corresponding determiners.
Identity in
But while the use of these forms are a powerful rhetorical strategy for emphasizing a contribution, many second language writers feel uncomfortable using them because of their connotations of authority. In this paper, I explore the notion of identity in L2 writing by examining the use of personal pronouns in 64 Hong Kong undergraduate theses, comparisons with a large corpus of research articles, and interviews with students and their supervisors. Okay, so that is the method. The study shows significant underuse of authorial reference by students and clear preferences for avoiding these forms in context which involved making arguments or claims. I conclude that the individualistic identity implied in the use of I, authorial I, may be problematic for many L2 writers. Right? So, how does he present his findings? His argument is the use of authorial I may be problematic in some contexts. It's not always that we use I explore, I state, I conduct, I experimented. Now, it's not always we use I because that is problematic to some of the L2 writers, meaning second language writers. Okay, so does he use first person pronouns? Yes, he does. Okay, and to what effect? To examine whether the use of the authorial identity, okay, is of some importance in academic writing or not. What is the significance of the authorial identity in academic writing? Okay, that's it. So, and then you can draft your own abstract. So this is an example, example of an abstract that is well written. So if you now want to write your own abstract, whether in literature or in language, you can follow this model. So by following this model, you first talk about the purpose, then talk about the methods, findings, and then relevance or significance. Right? So first, number one, purpose, the problem. The second, methods. Third, findings. Fourth, relevance or significance or contribution to knowledge. Okay, so you can do that on your own. You can try at home. Now the data presentation. How will you present your data? So I will quickly move to task 3. How do you refer to yourself? I, or you can say this author, this writer, or you can use I. For some people, using I is a problem because in Indian context, we generally don't use I. If you look at the abstracts in your PhD theses or some of the theses in the library, somebody asked me, should we bring some PhD theses for the sessions I asked for? Have you bought them?
Yes, sir, they are in library. We can go.
Yeah, couple of them quickly. तो अभी एग्जामिनेशन हो जाएगा. हाँ, मेरे पास भी इतना है, लेकिन वो लेके आना कैसे लेके आएंगे एक सूटकेस में भर के. So she is thinking, I am in UG and he is talking about PhD. No? Are you not thinking about this? Not much. ये दिमाग में आ रहे हैं ना थोड़ा थोड़ा हाँ. So let them come. How do you refer to yourself? And then do you use phrases like it was found, the result suggests? Could you instead write, I argue, we interpret this? क्या करें? What might be gained or lost by making your authorial role more visible? So if you use I, so you become more visible. Will that impact on your thesis or in your on your paper? What do you think?
It may look biased, like it will not ultimately objective.
Hmm? Now, before they come back with some theses, let me go to task 4. There you will find use first person pronouns where appropriate. Okay. MA or PhD? Both PhD?
PhD.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now, look at this. This is a thesis on a study of the selected novels of Jhumpa Lahiri, Kiran Desai, Arvind Attiga, Chetan Bhagat in the context of globalization. One perhaps I do not blame others, but when I look at the title, I feel a bit uneasy. Right, because the most important idea, yeah, keep them ready. Um, मेरा मित्र भी मेरा जैसा ही है. हाँ. And Bharat Saab is sometimes very infectious. He has actually infected you with the enthusiasm of being a great recorder and editor. है ना? सच बात है ना? हाँ? ये तो अभी आया तो एमए तक इधर ही उसको सीट ले लिया परमानेंट. तुमको ना हम बंगाल में लेके जाएंगे ये सिखाने के लिए. अभी हमारे उधर क्या होता है, एक टेक्नीशियंस लगेगा, वो बीमार है तो उस दिन क्या होगा, स्टूडेंट लोगों को कौन सिखाएगा. मैं बैठना नहीं चाहता हूँ कि क्या एक बार बैठ गए उधर तो मेरा दिमाग खा लेगा सब. तो तुमको उधर लेके जाएंगे, सब फैकल्टी को ट्रेनिंग करेंगे. एक 100 फैकल्टी को 10 कॉलेज यूनिवर्सिटी से बुला लेंगे और तुम ट्रेनिंग करोगे, है ना. चलो. So this is one. And if you look at the introduction, let me read out from the introduction. The present research work deals with the study of selected a so and so, the term globalization so and so, the globalization and literature so and so, globalization does have an impact on so and so, the selected novels represent the themes of globalization, etc., etc., so and so. So there is no use of authorial I. That means there is no authorial presentation. ये किसका काम है पता नहीं है. The present research. ठीक है ना. एक एग्जांपल मिल गया. दूसरे वाले देखते हैं. एब्स्ट्रैक्ट में आते हैं. इसके टाइटल है सब्जेक्टिव लैंग्वेज एंड नोवेल्टी ऑफ द डिवाइन सेल्फ एंड इरिगेरियन अप्रोच. लूसी एरिगेरे मालूम है आपको? लूसी कौन है? फ्रेंच फेमिनिस्ट. अप्रोच टू द सिलेक्टेड कॉन्टेम्पोररी इंडियन वीमेन नॉवेल्स. Subjective knowledge and novelty of a divine self. This title sounds to me okay. Right. This is fine. Abstract को देखते हैं. Discussing women's issues, etc., etc. Subjective part under the glorifications. They don't believe in this thesis. So the present study, present research, now in this thesis. Lucy Irigaray is a postmodern psychoanalytic feminist, etc., etc. The giant philosophers. What a use of words. Giant philosophers. देखा है कभी कोई philosopher giant जैसे? Axiomatic. आपको आनंद भी आएगा ना. अभी क्रिटिकल रीडिंग हमको करना चाहिए तो आपको आनंद भी आएगा. और जिसका थीसिस है ना वो तो डर के मारे उसका स्वेट निकल जाएगा. बोले अबे अरे कैसे आपको देखा है कोई जायंट. टू प्रूव दिस हाइपोथेसिस. अभी वो गलती आपका ही गलती. नाउ ही सेज टू प्रूव द हाइपोथेसिस. सो तो आपका हाइपोथेसिस क्या है इसमें इसकी जिक्र नहीं है. क्या है आप इन लोगों का हाइपोथेसिस? In this thesis, in the light of feminist psychoanalytic philosopher, I have highlighted those uncharted parts of women identity. Women identity has some uncharted parts. What are the uncharted parts of women identity you can think of? ये लोग सब डॉक्टरेट बन गए. मेरा तो होगा सत्यानाश. इस रिकॉर्डिंग जब पब्लिक होगा. To prove this hypothesis, I have explored a few contemporary Indian novels. Use of I. Along with contemporary modern women from those novels, the characters of Hindu mythology are also re-portrayed to construct a lineage to demonstrate how a goddess culture and maternal genealogical part of women are there but remain unexplored. अभी कहा इन्होंने, इधर नहीं, इधर तो नहीं बोले. इधर बोले the language of women is maligned by patriarchy and their divine identity is also controlled. Does every woman have a divine identity? A debatable issue. Because sometimes we do say that God resides in us. So there is divinity within us. But if you talk about that, you have to theorize it. You have to philosophically establish the concept of divinity in man and woman. It's not done. So these are discrete ideas or jumbling of ideas. And then suddenly, what is the hypothesis? To prove this hypothesis. What is your hypothesis? पहले बोलो ना. That I am hypothesizing. So when you write, think carefully what you are writing. Okay. Now this is also Doctor of Philosophy. Impact of feedback on enhancing writing skills on engineering learners an exploratory study in pedagogy. What is pedagogy? Peer. Who is the peer? She is the peer, academic peer. Pedagogy, meaning you look at her writing and she looks at your writing. So if you adopt this kind of an approach, this is called pedagogy. Okay. Now, title, okay. Uri baap re baap. Abhi abstract. In abstract, there is no I. The study, the present study, the study, the present research, no I. So that's why Kane Highland rightly points out that the use of authorial identity is something uncomfortable to L2 writers. All these PhD thesis writers are L2 writers. Okay, and they are quite uncomfortable about using I. So that is getting validated. That can be your research questions. You can take the clue from Ken Highland. That Ken Highland has argued that L2 writers are quite uncomfortable with the idea of authorial representation of through pronouns like I. And now, if you examine some of the theses which are kept here, and you can check that hypothesis, it can be a PhD thesis. When you do, you can do. Okay, the last one. Investigating the role of AI based writing tools. आपके लिए investigating the role of AI based writing tools in enhancing writing skills among engineering students, a survey. So it's a survey based research. So here the problem is whether use of AI based writing tools can enhance writing skills. Earlier we used to have PhD where blogs can enhance writing skills. The first one to do is Kiran Chauhan and Atanu Bhattacharya in ELTJ, Oxford. They wrote an article whether the use of blogs can enhance the writing skills. Okay. Now, similar sort of it's a replicated study actually. Now you are just replicating the use of blogs by AI. What AI, the large language models, does more efficiently. Okay. Now I'm looking at this research using a sampling approach. Okay, it comes to methods. The survey involved 561 student participants. These aspects encompassed reliability. अभी कौन सा aspects problem है इसमें? To analyze the responses, the study employed both quantitative and qualitative research methods, utilizing questionnaires as a primary research tool. The data collected were evaluated using SPSS software, providing a robust platform for statistical analysis. This comprehensive approach. Why comprehensive? Why do you think comprehensive? Who told you that this is a comprehensive approach? Just you collect data from students and interview them and that becomes comprehensive. You have to justify why are you calling this a comprehensive approach. Seeks to provide insights into how AI based writing tools What are the AI based writing tools you are talking about? You have not named them. So the journey is actually from general to specific. Okay, so nothing from specific to general. Offering a method of understanding of their impact. So we examine 4 theses. 3 of them here didn't use authorial representation or authorial I. How many of you use authorial I or will use authorial I? Show me your hands. How many of you from henceforth will use authorial I in writing your abstract for your thesis or a seminar paper or conference paper or book chapter or journal article? How many of you will use I? Nobody. Why? Henceforth it is mandatory for you to use I. That is the international standard. So do another thing. You go to ONOS, and from ONOS you have access to ONOS. Yes. So in ONOS you go to some of the important journals in your area of investigation and you look at the abstracts of those journal articles. Boliye.
Sir, I have a question.
Don't want to use I for the personalized judgment, then how can we intervene our personal opinions in any in terms of argument in any research or a thesis?
Is not on the researcher, but who is doing the research? You are doing the research, you are collecting data, you are examining some people, so how can you do that? अरे भैया कहां से आ गए? हाँ, आज ही आए क्या? So what do you study? What do you study? Huh? Master in what? English. क्या नाम है आपका? तो काल तो आपको देखा नहीं मैंने, पहले बेंच पे बता रहे, तो थोड़ा बोल दो मैंने क्या बोला. हाँ, मुझे भी याद नहीं है. अभी ये आने का टाइम है क्या? Bring discipline in your life. If you are beginning a class at class 10, you should be there at 9:45. So your students will grow the habit to come at 9:30. If you come at 10:15, your students will come at 11 o'clock because they know that the sir is late. So they take the privilege and they join you later. So many of you will be teachers. This is a kind of a lesson for you. Okay. So you come late, yeah? Aisa. So do not worry. In international standard, if you write in any Taylor Francis journals or say journals or any important journals, for example, I will ask you, those of you are working in the computer literacy areas, for example, in AI and others, you look at Recall, the Cambridge University Press published journal, Recall, REC capital A capital LL, both capital. Recall, computers and education. You go there, you will not find an article where people are talking about this study, this research, this and that. See, by using I, you are not making a subjective approach to research. But everybody knows that there is a researcher, or there may be multiple researchers. Say for example 3 of you are working, then what will you do? You cannot use I, we can use we. No problem there. And you start staging. The very important part of the of writing is staging, going step by step. For example, what is staging? Staging is you start with the problem, then you talk about the methods, then you talk about your instruments, then you talk about your findings, then you try to conclude. This is called staging. Your staging has to be accurate. So, I would say that if you have already written your abstract, rewrite your abstract using I. Take the challenge, do it. सबको पास है? आपका एब्स्ट्रैक्ट है क्या? मोबाइल में किधर? हाँ? So take that out from your mobile and reframe it using I. This is your task for 5 minutes. 5 minutes में होगा नहीं? इंटरनेट से? हाँ. ये आपका है?
Yes, sir. I just wiped my phone with it. Thought it would not be required.
So you have written?
Yes,
Let
sir.
me see.
But sir, it's rough draft.
No problem. For example, this study addresses to this gap. So what is the gap? The offered agency identity research have been done in this area. So if you say research has been done in the area, you have to cite who have done the work. In which area? Area is a very broad term. You have to be specific. Which area? Limited work, and again you are repeating yourself. Repeat as applied multidimensional theoretical framework to the selected text, which is a gap in comparative theory-driven analysis. So you are trying to adopt a multidimensional theoretical framework to look at the patriarchal ideals in traditional methodological literature in India. Okay, that is your work.
Yeah.
This study addresses to this gap by incorporating etc 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 feminist Showalter etc. So you have two areas. This study addresses and then the analysis aims. So how can you reframe these two things? Then this research helps. So you have to reframe this using authorial. So how will you do this?
I address to the gap.
So you can say in this study I address. Okay, हो गया. The analysis aims at highlighting how these etc etc. Highlighting?
How? Yeah, sorry.
Highlighting.
Highlighting how the strategies. No, sir, not this.
I aim at highlighting how etc. And then this research helps by comparing, not by comparing.
I compare.
I compare these with Western theories.
To establish.
Okay, so you can easily reframe it. So who else is working? Anybody else who can show me a sample of your rework? आप लोग सब लेजी हो गए हैं। अगर मैं बैराट साहब के उधर होता ना, उनके पास टाइम मिलता नहीं है, वो एडमिन वर्क ज्यादा करते हैं। तो मैं होता तो सुबह आपको स्ट्रेचिंग करा के बोलते अभी करो, इसको बैठ जाओ, करना है। तो पागल होके अभी पीएचडी छोड़ देते, नहीं तो मेरे खिलाफ कंप्लेन लगा देते। हाँ, हो गया।
This is my abstract. I just wrote this phrase
हम्म,
that the disruptive capabilities of the generative AI. I argue that the disruptive capabilities of generative AI and all this, then I find the broad design. So in this evolving context, traditional.
okay. Disruptive capabilities of generative etc. pose a significant challenge to establish pedagogical practices etc. particularly within classrooms. Now you need to tell here very briefly that what significant challenge it is posing. Say you say pose a significant challenge, you have to qualify it. You have to say that what significant challenge is this. So what is the challenge? You come here. So instead of saying a significant challenge, so it is posing significant challenge in higher education to traditional teaching models like long models. Okay, you can put a full stop here. Although comprehensive frameworks such as etc. This generic nature limits their applicability to discipline-specific pedagogical concerns. Notably, they fail to address etc. Drawing on, not drawing on, I draw on an extensive theoretical synthesis to critique the limitation of these broad frameworks by employing TPAC as a conceptual anchor. Now there you need to say that why you are taking TPAC, why not others.
And here it argues that I find. So I argue that.
अरे थोड़ा चुप हो जाओ, आप लोग सब रिकॉर्डिंग में आ जाओगे, फिर आपको डांट पड़ेगी, है ना? थोड़ा साइलेंट हो जाओ, नहीं तो आपने मोबाइल में थोड़ा चैट कर लो, है ना? अगर साइलेंट नहीं हो सकते तो मोबाइल में चैट कर लो। Not based on the synthesis this paper proposes. You say I propose the AI pedagogy for literary. Now what is AI pedagogy? It is not yet defined. So you have to define what is AI pedagogy. And you are also talking about the framework, what this framework consists of.
So here in this paper, I have given a framework of inverted Bloom's taxonomy.
So then you have to say that Bloom has said this, and I am using a framework by inverting it to achieve this. Now, if you talk about Bloom framework, then how is it connecting to TPAC? Because you are using two frameworks. You can use multiple frameworks. So in that case, you will say that I shall explore frameworks, Bloom, TPAC, and etc. and will invert Bloom's framework to achieve this or to explore this. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Huh?
I have a question.
Yes.
Like if you are saying that we can use I whenever it is possible, and I want to question that when to use I, like what is appropriate statement, or we can say what is appropriate way to use I. Like in thesis we cannot use I, so how we can justify that I if someone counter argues that.
अभी मोदी जी को शपथ लेने के लिए आपने देखा है वो क्या बोलते हैं? अभी ये जो हमारे जो प्रेसिडेंट द्रौपदी मुर्मू मैडम वो क्या कहते हैं? आई
Okay, but it is not academically right, I think. That's my understanding. I'm just
so using I is not good at academic
no,
writing.
I'm asking that it is good, but where to use and how to use.
No, you can always use it when you are representing yourself as a researcher.
So in thesis we can use I, right?
Yes, absolutely. In thesis, in book chapter, in abstract conference, abstract writing, in your paper, journal paper writing, you can absolutely use. That is the standard international procedure. Only in India we talk about this research, that research, etc., etc.
Sir, if we have selected a particular theoretical background,
जो लोग अब बातें करेंगे ना, अगर हम मेरा दृष्ट में आ गए दृष्ट में, तो क्या करेंगे? इसको हम खड़ा करके रखेंगे इधर बेंच के ऊपर, जहां हम सब लोग आपको देख सके और कैमरा भी आपको देख सके. थोड़ा चुप हो जाओ बेटा.
so every researcher makes his or her own theoretical background, or sorry, framework, right? So that can be her or his specific selection. So there he or she can address as I, because it is.
Yes, no problem. You can use I everywhere. Right, starting from your abstract, in your introduction. For example, in your introduction, you may say that in the first chapter, I discuss this. In the next, I move to this to explore this. And finally, I examine this to come to this. No problem.
But then it can be the personalized statement.
Huh? No personal, no personalized statement.
Yesterday, that Paresh Joshi sir was saying that put yourself aside whenever you are writing something academically, and you should not use your personal biases or your personal views, like saying I think that or I examine that. So.
अभी थोड़ा इसको बंद करो ना भैया. So if you want to publish now, it is not that I am actually boasting or saying something. After the sessions, when you will go back to honors and search for academic papers, you will see it everywhere. In 90% cases you will see them in most important journals. Now one of the reasons, you remember in the opening, in the inaugural session, मैं प्रशांत से बात करूंगा अभी आपके बारे में, अतनु से भी बोल दूंगा ना. So the important thing is the dean, Professor Joshi. So he was also mentioning that to what percentage our PhD theses are published, and to what extent the academics in the US publish, and to what extent that we publish in the impact journals, right? So he was showing a kind of a discrepancy, right? Why is this happening? Because the problem is we do not know how to write directly to the topic. See, the canonical academic writing is something different from the Indian academic writing. What you are indulging in is Indian academic writing. That is not accepted in international journals. They will reject it, simply. So you have to conform in order to publish in those high standard journals. So you have to conform to their standards because they are publishing their work. Suppose if you are writing for Taylor Francis or Springer Nature, so if you are publishing with them, they will ask you to conform. Okay, so these are the things. For example, here we do not we are not much concerned about ethical sort of stuff. For example, we take randomly pictures of children, and if you share the pictures of children in any academic journal, then what will happen? They will give you a form where for each for each learner, young learner, you have to come with a consent from their parent. So that kind of ethical standards we do not maintain. In different universities in the West, they have ethical committee. They look at your research and say that it has observed all the ethical standards. So it's something different. We have miles to go before we sleep. Okay, so that's because I am telling you that if you want to publish in reputed international journals, then you have to conform. And my job is to tell you that how to conform. Not to say don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Very good in Indian context. Nobody will question you because all these people have got their degrees. You will also get your degrees, but you will never be able to publish in a. Okay, so if you want to do that, if you are happy with whatever you are doing here, and if you do not aim for that, then you do whatever you like. You have the freedom. I cannot force you, right? So, but otherwise, as a teacher, I will encourage you to, to go international because we have to prove to the West that we are of the same standard. You look the Chinese people, they are writing and writing. If you go to Taiwan and the Taiwanese universities, they produced highest numbers of articles in the field of English language teaching. हम लोगों का visibility है नहीं. Nobody knows what work is going on in India. They struggle to cite. I can show you that in one of the PhD theses from Warwick University and in many of the journals from other places, my work has been cited because that's the only one from India. So they have no other alternative. People ask me that what other works have been done? Can you give us some references? So you work, you publish to that standard so that you become visible. If you become visible, what is your benefit? You will be invited globally to give your talks, to share your papers, insights. So that is something that you should aim for as a young researcher. Okay, so it will be very nice for you to, as a young researcher, as an assistant professor, to go to Stockholm and to give a lecture there as an invited speaker, provided you have published in journals which are visible. ठीक है ना? अगर हम खुद का एक पब्लिश कर लिए और खुद 2-4 किताब छपा लिए, लेकिन उसके उस हिसाब से कुछ नहीं होगा. वो ISBN or ISSN, they are actually library cataloging thing that do not give you any sort of visibility. So that is very important for you to understand. Okay, analyzing a conclusion. Look at page 20. Okay, how does he summarize his studies contribution and what recommendation does he make for teachers and writers? So some people have questions. If you are uncomfortable, because L2 writers are uncomfortable, I'm telling you from the very beginning, because that is not in their culture. That is not in their academic culture. So if you are uncomfortable, don't do this. Look at Ken Highland's article, page 20 to 21. How does he summarize? Look at the conclusion part of the article. Any recommendation for teachers? I'm sure there are recommendations. What are the recommendations? Anybody? You have to read very fast.
Awareness among the teachers.
Awareness amongst the teachers of what? What awareness? On what?
We need to be aware of how academic conventions position students and be sensitive to the struggles of novice writers seeking to reconcile the discursive identities of their home and disciplinary cultures.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm talking about writing conventions. I'm trying to discipline you. So, as a novice writer, most of you are, you need to be given guidance, supported, not to be, thrashed. अरे कुछ नहीं हुआ है, फेंक दो इसको. नहीं, you need to be supported along the way. Okay. So you people come, keep writing. I'll come back in March end for a different event at the university. Then I will meet with only the PhD students. Okay. And some of the enthusiastic. Then not registration. Is information based. एक दिन शाम को बैठ जाएंगे आराम से 4 बजे 4 बजे तक 6 बजे तक बैठ के I will look at your problems, individual problems. By the time you adopt yourself to the ideas that I am sharing. Now, how does he use first person pronouns in conclusion? So he says that we are very, some people are aware that L2 writers are uncomfortable, but they need to be given training. So his recommendation is a kind of a training, most probably. I don't exactly remember his words. क्या है उसको? Does he talk about training?
Academic convention position student and be sensitive to
The message here for teachers, read from the last paragraph. The message here for readers is that we need to be aware of how the academic conventions position students and be sensitive to the struggles, identities, etc., etc. This tentativeness and reluctance. So that is where you are. You are reluctant and you are tentative. How that is to be dealt with? Tentativeness to display an authoritative persona among Asian writers may be a product of culturally and socially constructed view of self which makes assertion difficult. So where from it is coming? It is coming from our culture. That's why it is stopping us. It is equally possible, however, that the native English speaking students experience similar problems when entering university. Teachers have an important consciousness raising task to ensure students understand rhetorical options available to them and the effects of manipulating these options for interactional purposes. Sorry. Sorry. Um, okay, with this rhetorical understanding, our learners will better able to gain control over their writing and meet the challenges. That's what we are trying to do. Whose mobile is this? Thank you. Okay, so the problem is not only one person's problem, it is the problem of everyone. Because in Indian academic writing, we come from a culture, and that is not the problem in India. It's problem in Bangladesh, it is problem in Sri Lanka, in any Asian context. That people are very much afraid to use I. मेरा प्रॉब्लम क्या है सर? घर में दादी बीमार है. And then what is your problem? सर घर में दादी बीमार है ना. Then what is your problem? सर बीमार है. So that is our cultural problem, that we are, expressing ourselves in this way. We can't say, yes, sir, I need to look after her because there is nobody at home. वो बोलेगा नहीं आपको. थोड़ा excavation की जरूरत है. So what is your problem? Your dadi is ill. Okay, there may be others to take care of her. See, this is the issue. So it's a culture's problem. Kane Highland's purpose of writing this particular article is to correct this misplaced notion among the Asian L2 writers, so that they, through support from their teachers and training, they from the novice stage they move to the more mature stage and conform to the canonical academic structure or convention. Okay. So you can reflect, no problem. Then the next one is hedging. There is another article on hedging. Once again, Kane Highland's paper. I have selected 3 articles purposefully of Kane Highland. He is an authority on EAP. You may have seen couple of his books. One from Longman and one from Cambridge. Kane Highland's famous book is Second Language Writing. So if you look at this hedging and then hedging strategies. So your job will be to look at some of these many articles that you read and try to find out that where the hedging strategies have been used and why are they used. Now, why do we use hedging strategies where we are not certain about the conclusions, the findings? So we hedge. We remain in between, just like a boat in the ocean, right? Sometimes goes this way, sometimes goes this way. It cannot go smooth. When you are certain, no problem. When you are not that, so hedging. You select one hedging device. I think this one is in the. So I have given you examples. For example, the structure methods and so and so. Oh, the hand 2 है. 3 कहाँ गया? ना मेरे वाला कहाँ गया, मैं देखता हूँ. This is mine, huh? Thank you. Hmm. So you go to the discussion sections and find out one hedging device. Can you find out one hedging device from the discussion sections of the paper? Quickly. See, yesterday I said that sometimes we say it is possible. When you say it is possible, that means you are absolutely certain. And then we take the example of it might be possible, because that's what you are hedging. It could be, I think, I suggest, I propose. These are all hedging. So you can select hedging devices here, okay, and why you use it. Now this is a kind of a after some exercises it becomes a kind of a mental process with you. You will be able to process it mentally. You don't have to write it down. Now Kane Highland also talks about a kind of a disciplinary okay, so disciplinary sort of thing, disciplinary awareness. For example, our senior madam may question me, sir, should we hedge too much or little? There is no straightforward answer to that, right? You hedge as much as required. It's a context driven. It depends on the paper when you are writing, or it depends on the thesis when you are writing. It's not that every page you have to hedge thrice. Not necessary. You do it when it is required. But of course, you should exercise a bit of caution. So you go through the worksheets and complete the exercises if you can. Now I'll quickly move to the last section of it, that is the academic attribution. To attribute your stuff is very important. Okay. Now how do we do? There is another article on academic attribution and citation by Kane Highland, citation and the construction of disciplinary knowledge. Citation is a disciplinary exercise. It's not that it can be done arbitrarily. Okay, you have to be very careful about this. Now, what is academic attribution? Any idea? What is academic attribution? रात में जाके सो गए क्या? अभी ये तो वर्कशीट्स आपके पास थे, थोड़ा इधर उधर देखे नहीं. You didn't check, ना? सो गए आराम से.
How your research contribute knowledge in source of knowledge or new information or in any way? Is your research contributing to the existing knowledge?
Now, I think the second question answers the first one. For example, why do you cite? Yes.
Academic attribution means if you are using anyone's idea, opinion, quotes, then you have to cite that person or that book or article or anything.
Now, why do I cite?
Like, if it is someone's work, then we should give credit to that.
Exactly. And also academic discipline and academic integrity. I am not, stealing your work. In today's terms, everything is put in Turnitin or software like that, where it will be detected. So the problem is, if you do not quote or if you do not cite properly, then what will happen? It will be caught in the system, and you will be accused of plagiarizing. To stop it from happening, the plagiarism is an unethical activity. For example, if I plagiarize, I may lose my job. Okay, if you write a PhD thesis and which is plagiarized, you may lose your job. Okay, so given that importance, you should always, cite or cite. So citing is a kind of an ethical exercise. It is a kind of a discipline that we need to impose upon ourselves. And as she has said, that why do we attribute? We attribute meaning we give credit, we acknowledge that work that others have done in the field. Okay, so when you are developing the knowledge and you are taking information from someone else or knowledge from someone else, you give credit to him or her and you acknowledge that. And once you acknowledge that, you build a repository of knowledge. Say, for example, his knowledge, her knowledge, my knowledge, your knowledge, we build a repository of knowledge. That's why academic attribution is important. So many things. I think, let me check quickly. Subsection of your literature review and map your citations. So how will you map your citations? First list authors, then note whether citations are integral or non-integral, and then identify the reporting verbs used. That is for in-text citations. There are two types of citations. Okay, so for in-text citations. So while citing, particularly in literature review, you have to do one thing very carefully. That is that you have to synthesize all your citations, meaning all the sources that you have attributed to in your work, they need to be synthesized. They need to be arranged chronologically in such a manner. For example, in a literature review, similar sort of work done by the other scholars, they need to be cited together. You put in the bracket all their work with their name and year of publication. And then in the reference list, you refer to those articles, obviously. Are you sufficiently synthesizing? These are the questions to be asked. Are you showing debates, gaps, consensus? Are you aligning with a particularly scholarly camp? Now, there are some scholarly camps. For example, I am a post-colonialist. I am a post-modernist. So if you belong, or I am a feminist, I am an eco-feminist. So if you belong to that school, eco-feminist, feminist, so, and then if you belong to that school, then if you identify yourselves with that school. So that's, you cite to a particular scholarly camp. Okay, that's much I have to say today. Now I'll take questions, few of your questions. Some of the areas I didn't get the time to cover that much, but I think I am on time. Any questions or any doubts or anything that you want to ask, maybe a little bit outside the periphery of my presentation, a little bit. There is no problem, but something related to your research, writing paper, conference presentation, so and so. Any questions? Yes.
So when we were discussing about literature review, there was one statement which stated that it should not have an annotated bibliography, but a synthesized argument of whatever we are talking. So does this suggest that our thesis, PhD thesis, should not have annotated bibliography to any essence?
No, no, no. No, no, no. That is not the suggestion. For example, Thesis may have an annotated bibliography, thesis may not have an annotated bibliography. If you do not include annotated bibliography, check out the instructions from the university where you are working. Right? They have a guidelines whether they expect from you annotated bibliography or not. What the article is actually referring to, perhaps, in my mind, as far as I remember, that suppose you have read a lot about the ecofeminist, and the ecofeminists are talking about ecology and politics. Right. Now, when you are doing the literature review, in one particular section, if you touch upon the researches which have been done in the area of ecology and politics, then you cite them accordingly to the thematic clusters and cite the name of the authors according to the thematic clusters. Right? It's not that in the first paragraph you refer to ecology and politics, and in the third paragraph you once again refer to the same thing with some other authors. No, you put them together. Okay, so that's it. But that doesn't mean that your literature review will be a kind of an alphabetic arrangement or detailed arrangement or discussions of that. That Mr. Albert has said, then Mr. Barnard has said, then Mr. Carey has said, then Mr. Douglas has said. No. It could be Douglas 1999, Carey 2022, something like that. Okay, you put them in clusters. The good idea is to look at some of the good journals. For example, even if you look at Kane Highland, some of these articles which were shared with you, you will get a kind of an idea that what is expected from you, although they are not from literature. So for example, if you look, I just suggested to you Computers and Education is a highly rated, great impact factor journal, meaning only 5 or 7 out of 100 submissions are accepted. So if you go there, you will find articles, specimens, and you can download and read, and you will find how they have done the literature review. So similarly, in literature also, you have so many articles. For example, Commonwealth Literature is a great journal. So in Commonwealth Literature, if you go and look at some of these articles, you will get how they are actually positioning themselves, how they have done the literature review, how they have interpreted the narratives, or how they have developed the narratives, or how they have debunked the narratives. You will be able to see them. So my idea will be that self-learning is required. You expose yourselves to good specimens of writing, you read them, and you learn from them. You also go through the key texts, but the texts are actually dated sometimes. They are not updated. For example, an article published in January 2026 will give you more updated information than a book which was published in 2022. Okay, am I clear? Any other questions? Questions है नहीं? भूख लगी है क्या? Any other questions? So if you have no questions, thank you very much for your patient hearing and lots of questioning. Thank you so much.
So much, sir. Because it's a very insightful session, because your interactive with our research titles and all those things, and with that practical idea of another example of another articles and research paper. So that gave us a practical knowledge how we do research in that areas. So thank you for that. Now I would like to request to participants, anybody wants to give feedback for that both session?
good or bad, whatever it is. Any feedback?
Anybody want?
Anyone wants to give a feedback?
So now moving further, I would like to invite Khushi Parmar to give feedback.
Greetings to all. I would like to share a few words about today's writing workshop. First of all, I sincerely thank you, our resource person, Dr. Kalyan Chattopadhyay, for such an informative session. The workshop was very helpful, especially for students and all the research scholars. He explained the importance of academic writing in a clear and simple way, focusing on formal tone. The practical examples and suggestions were easy to understand and apply. Overall, it was a valuable learning experience, and it has motivated me to improve my writing skills further. Thank you once again to Dr. Chattopadhyay and the organizations.
Thank you, Khushi. Now I would like to invite Radip Bavaria to give a token of gratitude to Sir.
Yeah,
Thank you, Radip Bhai. Now I would like to invite Priya Rathod to give vote of thanks.
On behalf of the Department of English, Maharaja Krishna Kumar Seji, Bhavnagar University, I extend my sincere gratitude to Dr. Kalyan Chattopadhyay for delivering such valuable and insightful guidance lecture on academic writing in English for advanced learners. His scholarly rigor, conceptual clarity and practical perspective on academic writing greatly enrich the participants' understanding. We are deeply appreciative of his time and guidance, and we also acknowledge the efforts of all those who contributed to the successful conduct of this session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Priya. Now, thank you to all participants also. Thank you, sir, because of your valuable time. So now we conclude this session. So, thank you so much.
She has concluded, so it's officially over. But I was thinking of last Hill's question about a literature review. Now, see, for example, I have a thesis in front of me where the literature review is done this way. The purpose of literature review, the use of literature review, reviews related to general writing skills, artificial intelligence, self-autonomy, regular, self-directed. So, subsections were made. But I don't think any subsection is required if you signpost them in your literature review section itself. Meaning, you don't have to say literature review about this. You identify the topics, the core elements, the core issues that you are reviewing, and put them in subsection in the body of the literature review. And if you want to put here, then you put those themes only, not reviews about artificial intelligence, reviews about academic writing. No. I have another thesis in front of me. I don't know what I'm going to see there. I'm hoping that, yes, this one is on impact of peer feedback. This one is better because it says the literature review, recap of the significance of peer feedback, overview of the structure of literature review chapter, purpose of literature review, and then it goes for English language proficiency. Then English in India, major discourses, writing pedagogy. So that this sort of structure is required. Okay.